see if you remember this. The opening scene, there's a door that's right in front of you. It's the front door of your house, apparently. And the doorbell rings, you open the door, and there's a man there, very dapper looking, looks like a businessman, a little on the paunchy side. And he pulls up a piece of paper and he says, "Hello, my name is Michael Anthony, and I have something for you. It is a cashier's check for $1 million, tax-free. And the donor wants to remain anonymous." Do you remember that show, The Millionaire? Mm-hmm. Millionaire. And you'll remember what happened to those people who got that $1 million. Very seldom did it turn out well for them. As a matter of fact, what you realize after you've seen one or two of the shows is that as soon as he held up that check, they should say something that we heard, that we hear over and over again. And that is, "Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil." Every day we say the Lord's Prayer, and that little part of the prayer has captured my attention for the last few days. I suppose because of stories that I've heard and perhaps reflecting upon my own life and my own experience. And I thought, what a beautiful prayer for us as we begin the year of faith, which is beginning today, October 11th. All the bells in the various churches, I wouldn't say all of them, but many of the bells in the various Catholic churches are going to be ringing at noon today to remind us of the beginning of the year of faith. And I was thinking that one aspect of our faith that's very strong is the truth that's contained in the Lord's Prayer, which the Lord himself gave to his apostles, and through them, which we have received. And that little prayer, "Lead us not into temptation." Lead us not, in some translations, it's "lead us not to the test," or "lead us not to the great trial." And I think about that, I suppose the great test or the great trial comes to different people in different ways in their life. Lord, please protect me this day from that thing that is so going to test my faith, or my confidence and my trust in you, or my belief in Jesus, the path that Jesus set out for us as being the way, the truth, and the life. Whatever that temptation is to follow another path, may I resist it. May I not even be confronted with it. May Michael Anthony or whatever not appear at my door today and so tempt me with his cashier check for $1 million. As I reflect upon that whole mystery of temptation and testing, and it seems to me as though we hear a lot when we read about the lives of the saints. We hear a lot about all the wonderful things that they did spiritually and the great mountains that they climbed with the Lord's grace and help, and with their own courage to climb these great mountains of great endeavors for Christ. But I will be willing to bet you that each and every one of the saints, as they came closer to God, they became more aware of some little aspect of their own life that held great danger for them. In other words, they knew where the greatest temptation to either despair or to turn away from God or to give up or whatever it might be. They knew that there was something somewhere within them that they needed to avoid like the plague, because that might be the temptation that might lead them astray. And my guess is that as people grow spiritually, they become aware of those one or two little places where they could easily be subjected to a test that's beyond their capacity to resist, even with God's grace. And so they pray each and every day with all earnestness, lead me not into temptation. Don't let me even come close to those things. I've met so many people who unfortunately only became aware of those real danger points when it was too late. People who discovered all they had to do was enter into a certain place or into a certain situation, and they could easily be overcome. Obviously the people who are in the various 12-step programs have faced those temptations, those life-changing temptations, whether it's because of drugs, or because of alcohol, or because of sex, or because of materialistic goals, financial dreams, and that sort of thing, can come in many different forms in which we begin to recognize within ourselves the seeds of our own destruction if we follow that. And to put ourselves even in a situation in which we're tempted to go along those lines is of great danger to us. So many stories over the past years that I've heard about people who only found out sometimes too late what those tests are. People who just on a lark got involved in spiritualism or using Ouija boards and so forth, and just completely turned their life topsy-turvy. When I was up north, people who had actually entered into satanic cults and participated in black masses and things like that. Their whole lives, their souls, their psyche, even their physical appearance, entered on a path of destruction. And the fact that at some point that the possibility of their being rescued was handed to them is just a tremendous testimony to God's grace and God's abiding love for them, because they had really almost begun to sink like the Titanic in their own life. So when we say the Our Father, it's not a bad thing to think about that prayer. Lead me not into temptation this day. Lead me not along the path of destruction. Help me to avoid anything that I know could compromise my love of God and my faith in Him, particularly during our year of faith, when we try to become more confident and trusting in God's grace and goodness. It's important for us to become even more aware and steer clear of those areas of temptation and danger that can lead us away from the path to holiness.